Hi guys, thanks so much for being here. This is Gia. Just wanted to take you through one of my favorite exercises that I've done with innumerable clients that's very helpful when you're feeling overwhelmed or stressed or you have too much going on, you don't know how to prioritize. It helps bring a real sense of clarity to what it is you're going to focus on. And this is all based on the premise that good leadership is about deciding who you're going to disappoint and then reporting back to them for a given period of time. It's not just about taking on more and saying yes to everything, but really getting clear about what it is you're going to say no to for a given window of time. So I call it the plate exercise. It's really about a visual snapshot of everything that's on your plate right now, and it helps you get clear about what are the things that I'm going to deprioritize for a given period of time and what's going to be my priority. So all you need to do this exercise is a stack of blank white paper, just like this. I have a few Sharpie markers, colored markers, anything you need to write with right next to it. And the first step is really to intuitively feel like what's the period of time that we're looking at. So it could be this week, it could be this month, it could be this quarter, whenever you're sort of feeling like this is a good chunk of time for me to start balance these competing priorities. And really you want to start by drawing yourself a circle with my plate at the top, just a basic oval on your sheet of paper. And I'm going to ask that you start to think about filling in small circles within this circle of all the competing priorities, all the expectations. They can be personal, they can be professional. Throw them all in there, everything that people are asking of you and that you're asking of yourself during this given period of time. Could be things like exercise, family time, spending time with friends, professional obligations, networking, tasks that are being asked of you by your boss, certain things that you want to accomplish during this time, travel. So just start to write onto your plate these little mini circles of different kinds of expectations over this period that are really calling your attention at this moment. I'll give you a sample. The one that I just did a minute ago has a whole bunch of my current plate objectives you can see in here. A lot of different competing priorities. Yours will look specific to you, so don't hesitate. Feel free to add as much detail as you like and pause the video now so you can get some of that filled in, and then I'll pick up with you with the next step. Welcome back. I know that's no easy task, so bravo getting everything on one sheet of paper. It's really frequent to map out all of your given competing priorities on one plate and look down and say, everything here has to stay. This is actually the hard part of the exercise, where now I'm going to ask you to pick approximately 50%, half of the circles, that you are actively going to deprioritize for this next period of time. And again, that may bring up a feeling of, oh my God, everything is important, nothing can go, I don't have control over a lot of these factors. How can you ask me to deprioritize my boss's board report? Don't worry, it's really, really normal to have that feeling. The truth is there's only so many hours in a day, and we're already making those choices instinctually and then also on a subliminal level about where we're going to prioritize, but without owning those choices, without saying, hey, I'm really going to put networking on the back burner for the next 6 months. We're not giving ourselves the full responsibility, the full leadership that is really taking responsibility over choices. So take a look at your page. I'll show you what this can look like, and then I'm really going to ask you to actively prioritize about 50% and deprioritize about 50%. And again, this isn't forever. This doesn't mean you have to never again, find your exercise routine 5 days a week that you've been longing for. It just means that maybe, hey, for the next 3 weeks, I'm not going to be looking at working out every day. I'm going to be looking at doing it twice a week or whatever makes sense based on what you have going on. So here's what I came up with. The green checks are the priorities, as you can see, and the yellow are the depriorities. And I just have a check and X system because that works for me. You can do whatever works for you. You can highlight, you can circle, you can star. But again, the most important thing is about half of what I had laid out gets actively deprioritized. About half of it is prioritized. And the next step, just to give you a preview, you can pause and do that for a minute. This is a really tough moment for a lot of folks. Another important key is that every circle needs either a check or an X. So some people are convinced that there's a whole bunch that's floating that doesn't need either priorities or depriorities. If you're not checking it, then you're actively essentially prioritizing it, and we're back where we started. So everything needs one delegation or another. And go ahead and pause, and I'll let you know where we go from here. How'd that go? Sometimes that can be really hard. So bravo, you're doing great. Based on what is on your plate, the checks and the X's, you can take an honest look and just check in. How doable is all of this? What would it really mean to deprioritize? And then really what you want to look at is who is going to be impacted by this decision? Who do I need to tell? Where is the follow-up conversation? And I really encourage you, for every deprioritization that has some kind of impact on others, figure out what the next step is in terms of closing the loop. Is it a conversation with a direct report to let them know that you're going to be hands-off as a manager for a little bit? Is it a conversation with your boss to check in with them about their expectations for what you're delivering them? Is it a conversation with a family member to say, look, I'm not going to be as present in these ways over the next bit because I'm going to be focused on this, but starting on such and such date, I'll be back in touch to let you know that I want to be present for family dinners or what have you. This is really the most important point, in my opinion. This is the make or break between a strong leader who's taking active responsibility over their plate and one that's just deferring to hoping it all gets done. When I have done this in the past with managers and with employees, there's such a sense of relief when employees come forward and share with me what they're going to be actively deprioritizing. There's such trust that comes there, and I find such a sense of confidence in any employee who has the sense to really manage their own plate and their own responsibility and know how to balance and what they need to say no to in addition to what they need to say yes to. So what my plate looked like when I started to map the next steps, you can see in yellow, I tracked a lot of what I wanted to say no to, and then who I needed to inform. Some things like yoga were just a note for myself. I'm going to cut it down to twice a week. Some things had a little bit more of a consequence or teeth, or someone I really directly needed to have a conversation with. You'll notice in a couple of instances, the green were actually things that I'm prioritizing, but I'm going to ask for help on them, or I want to let somebody know that it's going to be a priority. I'll never forget when I did this plate exercise around New Year's Eve, working in Times Square and producing the New Year's Eve event for many years. I realized that the months leading up to New Year's Eve, I really couldn't prioritize on much else. That may seem obvious, but at the time, I had a plate that was very full of lots of other things, including other parts of the business that wanted my attention. So when I sat down and did the plate exercise in advance of New Year's Eve, I was able to then go back and have a conversation with other managers and say, look, your program is really important to me. I'll be picking it up in January, or I'll be picking it up in February. And again, there was just such trust that was built through that level of responsibility and communication. So feel free to pause for a second, do some of your next steps around here, and encourage you to get specific and really get detailed in your accountability. Who are you going to have a conversation with, and when will you have it by? That's it, guys. You did it. Congratulations on getting your plate handled. Take this document with you. This is your sacred roadmap of how to balance the competing priorities in your life. You now have some clear direction about what you're actually focusing on and what you're not going to be focusing on. And again, there's no shame in that. We're in a culture that tells everyone that they should be everywhere all the time, hyper-focused on everything, and if you don't get everything done, well, the truth is we can't. There's only so many hours in a day. So I encourage you to post your plate on your refrigerator, at your desk. Don't be ashamed that this is a whole person exercise. In fact, I keep these close to my heart because it really reminds me that I'm not just balancing one set of priorities or another, but really my whole personhood. And bosses should know that, and your employees should know that. This is something you can take back to your teams. This is something you can do with your spouse or anyone who's close to you in your life. Have these conversations. Let me know how they go. Gia@giastorms.com is my email address. I'd love to send me a JPEG of your plate. Let me know what the response is from your community, and happy deprioritizing.